C's Truth Channel.
Hello there, friends. This is Jason from C's Truth Channel, and I have another paper that I would like to share with you. It's called The Cherub That Covers. This is quite a bit of information, so I appreciate your time, and I ask you to please watch the full video so you can gather the full understanding. I would like to start by explaining what Tyrus is. Tyrus is a Phoenician city. The Phoenicians spoke Hebrew just like the Abrahamic Hebrews. Saturn is called Israel by the Phoenicians. Baal is the planet Saturn. El, who was also called God in the Old Testament, the Phoenicians called Elis, and was king of the country, and deified as the star Saturn. Scholars see Baal as identical to El, who was Kronos, who was also Saturn, also known as Father of Time, which would make sense seeing as to how Elohim created the sun and the moon, which keep the cycles of time. So let's go to Ezekiel 28. Moreover, the word of the Lord came unto me, saying, Son of man, take up a lamentation upon the king of Tyrus, and say unto him, Thus saith the Lord God, Thou sealest up the sum, full of wisdom and perfect in beauty. Thou hast been in the garden of God, which is the garden of Elohim. Every precious stone was thy covering, the sardius, the topaz, the diamond, the beryl, the onyx, the jasper, the sapphire, the emerald, the carbuncle, gold, and the gold. The workmanship of thy tabrets and of thy pipes was prepared in thee the day that thou wast created. Thou art the anointed cherub that covereth, and I, being Elohim, have set thee so. Thou wast upon the holy mountain of Elohim. Thou hast walked up and down, which means robbed, in the midst of the stones of fire. Thou wast perfect in thy ways from the day thou wast created, till iniquity was found in thee. By the multitude of thy merchandise they have filled thee with violence, and thou hast sinned. Therefore I, being the Elohim, will cast thee as profane out of the mountain of God, and I will destroy thee, O covering cherub, from the midst of the stones of fire. Thine heart was lifted up because of thy beauty. Thou hast corrupted thy wisdom by reason of thy brightness. I will cast thee to the ground. I will lay thee before kings, that they may behold thee. Thou hast defiled thy sanctuaries by the multitude of thine iniquities, by the iniquity of thy traffic. Therefore will I bring forth a fire from the midst of thee. It shall devour thee, and I will bring thee to ashes upon the earth, in the sight of all them that behold thee. All they that know thee among the people shall be astonished at thee, and thou shalt be a terror, and never shalt thou be any more. So I would like to go over real quick the king of Tyrus, which is the king of Saturn, is full of wisdom and perfect in beauty, and walked in the garden of God. Is also the anointed cherub that covers. Elohim set thee as so. The anointed cherub that covers robbed of the cornerstone of man. If you go to the Strong's Concordance, you can see these definitions for these particular words. Walked up and down means robbed. Myths means center. Stones of fire means the cornerstone of man. Do you remember when Christ said, I am the cornerstone that the builders rejected? This is exactly what he is speaking of. The anointed cherub robbed from the midst of the cornerstone of man. Therefore, Elohim says, I will destroy thee, O covering cherub, from the midst of the stones of fire. This is talking about the transfiguration. I will bring forth a fire from the midst of thee, and it shall devour thee. I will bring thee to ashes upon the earth. Do you remember in my video called The Son of Righteousness? It says, I will cleanse their blood that has not been cleansed. Their faces shall be in flame, and they shall be astonished at one another. This is exactly what is happening whenever it speaks of that in that verse. So let's figure out exactly who the anointed cherub that covers is, this king of Tyrus. Anointed in Strong's is number 4886, and it means to damage by false accusation, to spread or stretch, to cover with color. Cherub means angels or angel. Covers means to hedge, to fence in, to join together, to shut up, or to qualify or limit by conditions. So the possibilities of this translation are the false accuser that fences in, the stretching angel that limits by conditions, the coloring angel who limits by conditions. Possibly beauty of the five senses. So what we as human beings interpret as beautiful, a good smell, a beautiful object or person. Whenever we observe these, it is beautiful in our senses, but we are limited by our five senses. Therefore, the coloring angel limits us by giving us these senses. So the false accuser that fences in and the stretching angel that limits by conditions. The Lord Yahweh claims to have stretched out the heavens. Isaiah 45:12. It is I who made the earth and created man upon it. I stretched out the heavens with my hands, and I ordained all their hosts. The Lord Yahweh placed a garden, which if you look up the word garden in Genesis chapter 2, it means an enclosure. The Lord Yahweh placed an enclosure to the east of Eden. Well, the anointed cherub that covers is the stretching angel who stretches the heavens and limits by conditions or fences in. Well, if you are within an enclosure, you are fenced in. And the Lord God planted a garden eastward in Eden, and there he put the man who he had formed. The Lord Yahweh falsely accuses and rejects the morning star, which is Christ, and has a yoke around our necks. Yahweh is the beast of Revelation 13, of whom the harlot rides with her cup of abominations. You can see where Yahweh falsely accuses and rejects the morning star in Isaiah 14. If you watch my video, Let There Be Light, you can see exactly why I say the morning star is Christ. In Hosea 13, Yahweh claims that he is a lion, leopard, and a bear, just like it speaks of in Revelation 13. This beast is the same beast whom the harlot rides with her cup of abominations. The cup of abominations began at the children or the life that Yahweh made in the garden from chapter 2 of Genesis, using the light which he robbed from the stones of fire in the garden of Elohim in Ezekiel 28. So, for quick review, Tyrus is a Phoenician city. Saturn is called Israel by the Phoenicians. Baal is the planet Saturn. El, whom is called God, the Phoenicians called Elis, and was king of the country, deified as the star Saturn. Scholars see Baal as identical to El, which would be Elohim, the father of time and the creator of the sun and moon. So this king of Tyrus was on the garden of God, or the garden of Elohim, which I guess we could say would be Saturn. And while the king of Tyrus, or the anointed cherub that covers, was on Saturn, he stole from the cornerstone of men, which is the light of Christ. He became violent, which, as you can see, Yahweh is very violent in the Old Testament. And now that he stole from the stones of fire and he made man in Genesis chapter 2, verse 4, he's going to be destroyed from the midst of the stones of fire. Yahweh is the anointed cherub that covers. He damages by false accusation. He stretches and spreads. He covers with beauty and color. He fences in. He puts a hedge about. He joins together groups of people. He shuts people up. He blinds their hearts, limits by conditions, qualifies people to be his children or not his children. The Lord Yahweh is the cherub that covers. I ask you to please go watch my video, Let There Be Light, so you can have a better understanding of who the morning star is, and that the morning star is not Lucifer, and the cherub that covers is not the morning star. I thank you for watching. I ask you to please like, share, and subscribe, and I'll see you later.